George Perry Floyd Jr. was an African-American man who was murdered by police during an arrest in Minneapolis on May 25th, 2020. Protests in response to George's death and police brutality against the black community have quickly spread across the United States, Canada, and around the world. On behalf of the church family at Richmond Hill Pentecostal Church, I believe it's time for the people of God to speak up and to speak out. We cannot stay silent. We cannot stay silent against racism, bigotry, prejudice, discrimination, violence, inequality, and injustice. The Word of God says in Isaiah 61 verse 8, "For I, the Lord, love justice." Isaiah chapter 1 verse 17, "Seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow." Micah chapter 6 verse 8 says, "What does the Lord require of you but to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God?" The murder of black lives due to police brutality is horrifying and intolerable. And anger at these injustices have simmered for years. The anger is now spilling over. It is time for action. First, we call on pastors and churches all across Canada to stand up and speak out against injustice and the murder of black lives. You cannot stay silent. Second, we call for police accountability in all levels of public sector law enforcement throughout Canada. Third, we call for equal opportunities in education and employment, fair treatment under the law, and for the values of respect and dignity to be shared across this nation. Matthew chapter 22 verse 39, Jesus says, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Who is my neighbor? My neighbor is George Floyd, and his death will not be in vain. Justice is long overdue. It is time for change. It is time for hope. It is time for love. It is time for justice. It's time for a greater future. And I conclude with a quote from the Hebrew prophet Amos, who witnessed injustices in his generation, and he could not stay silent. Amos declared, "Let justice run down like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream."